The New York Jets lose 26-21 to the Seattle Seahawks at home. This is the Gangzo here, Postgame Live Show. I'm Ryan Sampson, the host and producer of this show. That's my guy, Frankie Vittorini from U Stadium. We're going to break down and react to this abysmal Jets loss and what has been a long lost season of just terrible football all around. We'll get Frankie's reaction. We'll get some fan reaction involved in here as well. We want to thank everyone for coming in and watching this. The Jets lose after Thanksgiving, coming off the bye week, a ugly game in the second half, to say the least, after they started off really hot in the first half. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about Aaron Rodgers, what we can take away from that. But before I get to anything else, as always, I got to start by asking Frankie, how you doing?
Man, I have the same response every week. Every time we talk about this team, I'm not doing well. I can't stand this team. I can't stand the quarterback. I can't stand the head coach. I can't stand the offense, the defense. I am done. I am really done right now. I'm not done like I was 3 weeks ago, right? I am done with everything about the New York Jets. I want a completely new team next year. I don't want anybody to come back. You can't convince me on one player that I feel confident in their ability next year. I am done. I am just completely done. But I hope you had a great Thanksgiving, and everyone out there, congrats on putting the ring on it. You know,
Thank you, bud.
You're a great looking guy. I'm not surprised. You're a young guy.
You.
You know?
Thank you.
No, congrats,
listen,
seriously.
Thank you, man. Listen, it's just been a rough season to watch. And today was just another example. You know, I think a lot of Jets fans, we saw them on Twitter, like going wild, like the first half, and you get the kickoff return and the Seahawks fumble twice on the kickoff. Rodgers, looks like vintage Rodgers, scrambling around everywhere. He's throwing blocks in the first half. He's blocking defenders. He's making big passes to Devontae Adams, and they're up big. They're up early, right? You're like, oh wow, where the hell was this Jets offense? They're running shovel passes on the red zone. They're actually looking legit in the red zone. And all of a sudden, Rodgers throws that pick six, Frankie, to none other than former first-round New York Jet interior defensive lineman Leonard Williams, Big Cat. And Big Cat goes 95 yards the opposite way. And that felt like that was the complete momentum of the game because you were up 21-7. The Seahawks just fumbled their second time in a row on the kickoff return. And you get the ball in the red zone. And this is the first ever Aaron Rodgers interception in the red zone. His first ever interception of his career, his long historic career. He throws an interception to Leonard Williams, and he goes 95 yards for the return. And then the Seahawks get back in the game. It would have been 20. It would have been 28. It was a great play, but it would have been 28-7 at that point. You could have actually said the Jets are going to walk away with this game, and they just completely dominate. But when he threw that pick six, and that's just a story, they take one step back, one step forward, three steps back. Leonard Williams goes 95 yards, and now it's 21-13. Seahawks are right back in the game.
You know, the Jets had a 92.7% chance to win this game when they were up 21-7. 92.7% chance to win. And like it always is, and like the story always tells it's always the same story. It reads exactly the same. The odds go in the other team's favor, and they end up winning. We've seen this all year. If they can lose, they will lose. That's it. I mean, there was no way we should have lost this game. And it's not like Seattle. I thought Seattle was a better team. I don't watch them on a week in and week out basis, but I thought they were better. But that just goes to show everyone how really inept the Jets are and how bad the coaching is. But they can't score, man. We scored 14 offensive points. We had the kickoff return touchdown, so I don't consider that an offensive score. They can't score. The offense is outdated, and we can't stop teams in key situations. We can't, and a lot of the times it's not because the talent can't stop them. It's because we shoot ourselves in the foot with stupid penalties over and over and over again. We had, 10 penalties in the second half? 10. You shouldn't have 10 in a game. You shouldn't have 10 in 2 games. We had 10 in a big half of football. And this team is cooked, man. I really hope they look at this and say that we are just so behind, especially offensively, the rest of the NFL. They are really bad offensively, Rye. I don't see anything creative. I don't see anything where you're really like utilizing someone's talent and making someone better or putting someone in a position to get better or make plays. It's he throws to Devontae Adams on a slant. That's Aaron Rodgers' game. Or he does a dump off to a back when he has to. That's the Jets offense. That's it. And it's a better offense than we've had, which is really sad if you think about it. But again, man, they just they came out pretty hot. They were playing hard. I remember we were saying it. They were running all over the place. Defense was making plays. We had some nice goal line stops, but they're not disciplined and they're just not a good football team.
No, they're not. They're not. They're it's just been ugly to watch, man. And the fourth down, I mean, they come up with a great defensive stop right in the second half. So the story of the game, right, is like the first half was just an incredible start for them, but then Rodgers throws an inopportune pick six, and all the momentum swings back to the Seahawks because then the Jets get the ball back and they go 4th and 2. And what does Rodgers do, Frankie? He goes deep on 4th and 2 to Devontae Adams, who's wide open for a touchdown. He would have walked in for a touchdown, and he overthrows him. Because Devontae looked like he made the catch, but then replay review, you see the ball hit the ground. He has to full extension catch the ball. And people are tweeting like, oh, Rodgers looks awesome. Like Devontae Adams, like this is the Jets offense you're waiting for. It's like, no, hold up. That's another miss deep that Aaron Rodgers in this season has not been able to connect to any of his receivers deep downfield. He missed a wide open Devontae Adams. Also, mind you, before he threw the pick six to Leonard Williams on that same drive after they got the second fumble on the kickoff from the Seahawks, the gift, he missed Garrett Wilson on it.
Yeah, that was
wide
bad.
Open again. Another deep ball. Aaron was unbelievably bad in this game. Like people are going to probably say like, oh, look at the stat line. It wasn't terrible. Look at the stat line if you really want to look at it. His throws downfield were not good. His average yards per attempt were below 5 yards. He threw for 4.7 yards per throw today. That was his completion percentage. His completion distance. 4.7. 4.7 yards a throw.
Second lowest completion percentage on the year. Basically, 53.9 was his completion percentage today.
He threw for 185 yards. He never threw the ball downfield. He was 21 to 39 today.
His fifth game this year, he's thrown for under 200 yards. Fifth game, you have Aaron Rodgers, Garrett Wilson. Now you have Devontae Adams. You can't throw for 200 yards. It's a common theme. And listen, Rye, you know, we have to tell ourselves and we have to believe because I think it's true, but this is the reality of the situation. It's Aaron Rodgers was never going to save the Jets. Okay. He came into a dysfunctional team with no strategy offensively, with no idea or identity as to what to do offensively. He wasn't going to do anything to change that. And at this point, you just got to let the year ride out. You got to see if you can get some value from Aaron, and then you have to not to get into offseason stuff. We have a long time to talk about that. But this game was literally the Jets season in a nutshell. A team, and I blame the offense today. I blame the offense and lack of discipline, stupid plays. That's it. Because they were giving us the game. Seattle, with how bad their special teams was, gave us the game today.
Oh, yeah. They were begging you to win that football game today. The Seahawks were begging you to win that football game.
Oh, yeah.
They looked tired. They looked like they didn't sleep well on the cross country flight. 12 penalties for the Jets today for 83 yards. 12 penalties.
10 in the second half.
10 in the second half, Frankie. This is what, and I saw you guys tweet out this is what, the 9th straight losing season officially now for the New York Jets, the longest in the NFL.
Oh, is it? I didn't know that. I was gonna guess something like that, but hey, man, this is, as we've been saying, Rye, it's rock bottom. It's time to really just shuffle the deck or replace the deck, and you can start fresh. This could be a good thing. But today, specifically, what I didn't like about the game plan today was, again, offensively, I don't see them, like you're saying, taking any shots downfield. We can't complete a ball over 25 yards again.
He can't. I'm telling you, people are trying to blame, I think, his injuries at first, right? Like he looked he looked like his lower half was not timed well at all with his upper body and throwing motion. But Rodgers always had a unique throwing motion in his career. He wasn't driving enough on the ball, right? Like we saw a lot of
Yeah.
back foot throws off platform. He just wasn't delivering the ball downfield. The injuries are no longer there, apparently. He was off the injury report this week. And you saw him run around. He was running around like a young Rodgers again. Obviously, he's still 40 plus years old, coming off the Achilles. He's not as mobile as he once was, but he was still running around trying to make Aaron Rodgers like plays. He can't push the ball downfield, though.
Yeah, he can't.
He can't.
So he doesn't have it in his core, his legs.
And that's something I've tried to tell you for weeks now. I said, I am watching a guy who looks old. He looks slow. And ultimately, when it comes to making the explosive plays downfield, he just wasn't delivering the ball for the guys. I mean, Garrett Wilson was held without a catch in the first half, right? I mean, they didn't target him at all until
he had to catch it at like the end, like I think the last play of the last offensive play.
That ultimately
that was the first catch he had, though.
Like the game plan made sense in the first half. Like I got what the Jets were trying to do, but then the second half they didn't go to Garrett until literally that last drive where he started force feeding him. You have an absolute horse in Garrett Wilson, a prime stud to get the ball to, and they just don't get him the ball. And I don't know if it's Aaron just refusing to throw to him, or if it's I'm going to keep throwing to Devontae and forcing the ball to him because he's getting some separation against the second corner. Ultimately, though, Aaron in this offense, and this is what you were saying before, it's just not good enough, dude. It's just
not even close.
It's not even close. It doesn't look like an NFL offense. It's not consistent enough, and you can't attack guys downfield. You can't. The safeties are playing up on these Jets offense, and they are forcing you to throw it down the middle and try and throw it short because they just can't. Rodgers can't pick you apart anymore,
right?
And you can't win football games.
Yeah, he can't. And the problem is he's running an outdated offense. Today we targeted Devontae Adams 12 times, Garrett Wilson 10 times. That yielded 108 yards, or excuse me, 107 yards on the day. That's not good enough. You can't target Devontae Adams and Garrett Wilson 22 times and end up with 107 yards. Not good enough. He doesn't know really what else to do offensively.
No.
Rodgers, yeah, he's a one-trick pony when it comes to where he's going to go with the ball. He's not really going to utilize other elements to the offense. And when he does, he knows he's going to. It's not creative. It's why Green Bay didn't want him there. And listen, it can work to a degree. Like there can be situations where it works. You saw Devontae's touchdown. That's a typical Rodgers throwing a Devontae play. That's a really well done play. That's an Aaron Rodgers, vintage style of play.
Right.
But it's not enough anymore.
No,
it's not. He hasn't thrown for 300 yards now. I think it's game 35 games. He hasn't thrown for 300 yards. Starts. Come on.
The thing, besides that, we'll get into the coaching and the undisciplined nature of this team that just continues to be an absolute abysmal and just joke watching as a fan. The thing again, I want to harp on with Jets fans is we're talking about the offense and how it's just been so inept, it's been so outdated, it's been so old, and it's lacking explosive plays. There is one person to point to, and I said this when they changed the offensive coordinator and they fired Saleh. I said, there are no more fingers to point around besides at number 8, Aaron Rodgers. It's on him. He was brought here to be the GOAT. He brought here to be the Hall of Fame quarterback, the Tom Brady, the Peyton Manning, and bring this offense to that next level. Now, are they better than what they were with Zach Wilson? Yes. I mean, it was hard not to be better than Zach Wilson and what the Tim Boyle and Jets offense was for the last couple of years. Just absolute joke. It's easier. It's not hard to be better than what they were. But this is barely better. And this is just not good enough in today's NFL to win you football games.
It's not.
And you were promised a bill of goods in Aaron Rodgers that is not coming to fruition. And I cannot wait for the season to be over, Frankie, because I can't stand watching him sulk, and I can't stand watching him thinking that he's going to go on McAfee and say, yeah, we're a couple plays here, a couple plays there. We're going to give everything we got, just, we got some good plays. People don't understand the intricacies of this offense and how we run routes and how we, design some plays. And, if we have a couple more plays, we'll win a football game. It's like, no, man, no, that's not what Jets fans want. We want a competent football team. We haven't seen one in over a decade, but we want a competent football team. We want competent football, and we're not getting that.
Yeah, man, scoring and moving the ball with this team offensively is just, it's painful. It's
stopped
impossible.
Using Braylon Allen. What happened?
Yeah.
They used him the first half.
Nothing's easy. Every first down is a mission. It's never easy, man. And Aaron Rodgers, you're right, is the head of the snake here. But I also think that you better really understand, or not understand, but you better consider that we need to really revamp how Florham Park thinks about offense, because they don't have a clue.
No,
and they haven't had a clue in a while. And Aaron Rodgers' outdated 2005 offense was not the solution here.
Nope.
And they tried. It's not working. I mean, watch other teams. I mean, watch the Raiders, who barely know what they're doing offensively. They do some unique things. You see that Tucker kid going deep, making a big play. You see, obviously, Brock Bowers making plays.
Right, they know how to use a tight end.
Yeah, you see something with Aiden O'Connell and Minshew this year. They have some exciting things about their offense. For us, it's pulling teeth.
Yeah.
It's outside of that first Patriots game, right? I mean, I haven't seen anything that I like with this offense.
I mean, it was great in the first half. I mean, besides that pick six and the miss to Garrett on that same drive, I thought the play design on the Isaiah Davis touchdown was brilliant.
It was nice.
And pulling Tittman on the left side, he kicks out the defender and he throws a shovel pass. That was beautiful. But that's something that's few and far between with this offense. Devontae Adams, I thought he was terrible on the first drive, obviously, because him and Rodgers could not get connected on the first, another Jets 3 and out to start the game. But then Devontae, credit to him, he gets some separation, helps the Jets score that first touchdown. Again, you're relying on old veteran players to be your playmakers, and it's just not good enough, man. I want to spin this conversation a little bit forward too, besides just the offense. The defensive side of the ball, I think for all intents and purposes, the Jets defense I thought was actually pretty good today. I think their offense put them in a bunch of bad spots today and didn't come through for them again. There were a couple big, wide open, big explosive plays for the Seahawks. Stiggers on Metcalf on that key play in the fourth quarter. Sauce went down with a knee injury, but then he came back in a couple plays later. DJ Reed came out with a right foot injury. It's just, I don't know, man. Like, you want to take positives. I took positives that Will McDonald had another 2 sacks today. I thought he was a beast again. He had a little bit of a slump there for 4 or 5 games. Comes up with 2 sacks today. He was pressuring Geno all day. If that's a positive, that's a first-round pick that looks like a hit. 10 sacks for the kid in the second year in the NFL.
Yeah. No, he had a good day. So did Quincy. Quincy Williams had 7 tackles today, a sack, 2 TFLs. He had a QB hit too. Quincy played a good game, had some impactful plays out there. But this reminds me a little bit of last year's Jets and the year before that, where the defense plays really well, but they're not going to win you the game.
Right.
Like, that Sherwood play is indicative of like what premier defenses do. I know they called it an incomplete pass. I'm just saying, like, those are the plays that the defense can say, screw the offense that stinks. We're going to take over and win games. They can't do that. And that's fine. But with our offense, it's not good enough. And we've seen the same story. We did play well defensively today, outside of stupid penalties. Again, that Leonard Taylor encroachment was a terrible, like, dude, your helmet's hitting the
on the
offensive
4th and 1
helmet.
at the goal line.
Come on, man.
Got to know better. And he's a rookie.
Yeah. And but there's always little things like that. It's Mills getting into some crap in the end zone. It's
that was
penalties.
after the touchdown. I mean, they already gave up the touchdown. I think there's other plays that you're talking about, Frankie. It's the 4th down on that drive to go ahead for the Seahawks where the Jets defense doesn't know if they're going for it on 4th and 6
Yeah, and they
or
have
if they're going for a punt. They have someone lined up back for a punt return on 4th and 6 when the Seahawks are down by 5 points. Where the hell are the coaches? Who's telling Jeff Ulbrich, hey, buddy, we need to get in base defense here or draw up a blitz or something, not have 12 men on the field, which they did, and have another guy playing back as a returner. What is Geno Smith going to punt the ball? Are you kidding me? Are you
terrible,
kidding me?
man.
There's zero leadership from this team, and Woody Johnson stepping his big foot into the season and deciding to fire Robert Saleh turned out to be an absolute unmitigated disaster of a decision because Robert Saleh actually had somewhat of a grip on how to handle this team. Jeff Ulbrich has no idea what he's doing. Let's be real. The timeout situation at the end of the first half, not calling a timeout with a minute left to play. You have 2 timeouts just sitting there, and you don't burn one of them to get the ball back to Aaron Rodgers to maybe get a field goal, to get more points, a guy who does the Hail Mary better than anyone else. That's just not knowing your personnel. That's not knowing the situation. That's not paying attention to what's going on the freaking field. Who's paying attention at Florham Park? Who? I don't think anyone is. I don't think anyone is paying attention at Florham Park. Have some pride. This is an embarrassment. And we have to watch this every single week. And you expect us to come back every single year because we're diehards and we care about the team? Show some care yourself. Show some love for the game. I watch guys out there who are just trying to make plays, and I see coaches who are so unserious and don't understand what's going on in the freaking football game.
Yeah, man, you know what? It's shocking to see a $1 billion franchise, right? Not knowing the simplest things football-wise. That game today looked like a high school football game. Literally. I'm watching, I'm like, what the hell is this? And you see other teams somewhat fall in that trap too. The Raiders lost yesterday or on Black Friday because of that reason. They didn't know what the hell they were doing late. You saw Eberflus and the stuff he did in that last drive with clock management. Coaching is more important than talent in the NFL. Can we finally say that? Coaching overrides talent. I wasn't convinced on that. I'm totally convinced now. This is the worst coach team I've ever rooted for. Managed team, if you want to bring up baseball, it's the worst. It's terrible. And I'm shocked at the preparation. What are they doing during the week? What are you spending time? I'm telling you, there's college coaches right now, I guarantee you, and not top college coaches, not like at the top 10 FCS schools. I'm talking go at the bottom of the barrel. Go to Patriot League where I played. Go find a coach there. They would do almost as good of a job as what we're seeing. I'm honestly convinced.
This is just
it's crazy.
It's what they tried to do this season, and by they, I mean Joe Douglas and Woody Johnson. What they tried to do this year was put a Band-Aid on all the messes and problems that they had from 2020 to 2023 and all the mistakes that they made by missing on Zach Wilson, by missing on Mekhi Becton, by messing up free agent signings. They tried to put a quick Band-Aid on this 2024 season, and it's gone absolutely horrible. I'm glad they're ripping the Band-Aid off and somewhat acting like a professional organization and hiring outside voices, because clearly the people inside that building, and I'm talking about the higher ups and Jaime and Woody Johnson, they don't know what the hell they're doing. They don't know how to run a football franchise. They don't know how to pick the right football people to run a football team. And It's time to start taking this serious about winning and building a culture.
Yeah, you know what, though? I'm going to tell you this. It's not going to be easy, and you may go through a process that doesn't give you what you want, and you got to do it again and again.
Frankie, this is a team I hate rooting for. I don't like this team. There are a bunch of players that are just trying to make plays. They don't play for each other. They don't root for each other. You see it on the sidelines. They play with no emotion. They're unmitigated when it comes to they're a disaster when it comes to penalties and being undisciplined. There's nothing there, man. There is nothing there when it comes to this culture. They can say all they want. Oh, we love rooting for we love playing for each other. We're, I'm playing for the man next to me. No. This is a bunch of mercenaries on a team of old, washed up players, and Devontae and Aaron. And ultimately, you have a couple of young players that you hope to carry over into 2025. Rip the Band-Aid off, tank it the rest of the year, and start building this thing from the bottom up, because right now it is rock freaking bottom for this entire football team.
You know what I'm worried about? And shout outs to the chat gang. You all killing it. I'm worried they're going to win a few games. I'm worried they're going to have the 8th pick.
No way.
Again. Hey, you say no way. We say no way every week about a lot of things. Who thought Leonard Williams was going to come in here and have the best game of his career?
He's actually having a good year.
Yeah, he is. But the joke gets sicker. It is a sick joke that when you think it can't get worse or funnier, it does. It does. And I'm telling you, I have no faith in them even being able to lose right. They don't know how to lose. They don't know how to build. And I have options that I would consider in the offseason to fix this. We have a lot of time to talk about. I'm not going to get into it. But today's game is exactly what this team is. They can look good at times if they get Devontae the ball, or they get Breece the ball in space, or Aaron knows what the defense is doing. They'll look okay. The defense looked good, right? The defense looked very good. Make some plays. Sauce looked good on DK for a few snaps, targets. But when the going gets tough, they don't get going. They will fold, and they will give you the game. And they did it against the Colts. We did it against Pittsburgh. We did it against Denver. We will give you the game. And we did it again. And that is not like a talent thing, Rye. That's a belief thing.
It's a culture thing.
Yeah, within each player that believes we can get it done.
When's the last time this Jets team had an actual culture, Frankie? A culture that you felt good about?
The Rex years was the last time.
Right, but those are teams built with talent-wise by Eric Mangini, right? Guys who are thirsty for winning, and you brought in good veteran players like an Alan Faneca, Brandon Moore, Damian Woody. You brought in real dudes that were trying to win football games. It was a good culture, but they haven't had that in over a decade. So that's why they need proper leadership from the top down. And it needs to be someone that comes in as a GM and says, I'm going to put my stamp on this roster. I'm going to figure out this quarterback situation, because it's not going to be Aaron Rodgers. I saw I don't know if do you want to get into this now with Rodgers again about his future with this team? Because I think that's something that we're going to have to continue to talk about the rest of this year, because today is another prime example of don't fall for the banana in the tailpipe. Like, great. He threw for 2 touchdowns. Watch the throws. He was scrambling around. Go ahead.
No, I'll say this before we get into that. It's not the worst thing in the world
to bring Aaron Rodgers back.
No. When you're at rock bottom, because we are actually at rock bottom.
Yeah.
Like, you ever hear that phrase? I'm sure you've heard it with family members or friends. You know what they need? They need to actually hit rock bottom. We've hit rock bottom. With rock bottom comes the ability to really make change and not tell yourself lies about who you are or what you are. No. You're trash. You're done. It's over. This franchise is a joke. That's good. And I don't know if Woody or anybody in there can convince themselves otherwise, but that's a good thing. So people are saying that, you guys are being negative. What happened to optimism? I'll give you optimism. We're at the shittiest point in our franchise history. The optimism is that there's no way that any executive or any person in those offices at Florham Park can convince themselves that that's not the case, and that should bring us a new entire way of thinking and doing things. And hopefully Woody Johnson realizes that. And if he doesn't, then he's really on a different planet, because there is no way in the world you can look at this team and what we've done the last 20 years and think that this is a sustainable model to build a dynasty. Isn't that the goal?
I
No,
mean,
I'm
I
saying,
wouldn't even. I know, but I wouldn't even worry about a dynasty at this point. I'm just worried about building a friggin' franchise right now. They don't.
yeah,
They're
but
not a. They're not a football team, Frankie. They don't even have a football team.
Ryan, if you're the owner of the Jets, what is your ultimate goal? It's not to win one Super Bowl. It's to build a dynasty.
Frankie, I
Win
just want to
three,
get to the
four.
playoffs, buddy.
I know, but they cannot build this in the offseason with the thought that just making the playoffs is good enough. They have to reach for the stars, man. You can do it now. Take high risk moves.
Uh,
You can't get lower.
I think we're fundamentally disagreeing on this right here, and then maybe that's just how it is.
That's fair. I'm not saying that's
When
how
you're
I would
rock
think of it.
bottom, you have to be slow and you have to build it slow. You can hope for some kind of spark this next year, like the Commanders had with a really bad roster last year, and they turned it around with a good culture and Dan Quinn, someone that should have been a Jets head coach probably years ago.
Yeah, he was the second in the running that year.
Yeah, you got to figure out the head coach position because that needs to be a leader. That needs to be a guy who's going to set the tone. And they need to figure out this quarterback situation. The two hardest things, getting the head coach right and getting the quarterback right. Now, the Commanders lucked into getting Jane Daniels, right? Because that ended up being the second quarterback taken, and he looks legit. And he's changed a lot of that culture. It comes down to the quarterback, though, and you got to get that position right. And Rodgers is not the guy you want leading your franchise moving forward. So that's why I asked that. I don't know if you saw Samini's thing today. It's the question that a lot of people are going to be wondering because Rodgers said, I don't know if I'm going to play for 2025, but I know my first option, if I do, is going to be the New York Jets. So when you hear something like that, I think in my head, like, okay, where's he going with this? Because he does have a lot of money left on his deal. It's not guaranteed, but it's a cap hit because it's prorated for the bonuses. Like the money comes due either way. It's not guaranteed money on a contract, but what it is after year after year after year, the way he prorated his contract out, it's coming due. The bill is becoming due. And now it's a matter of if you rip that Band-Aid off after this season, and you say, we'll eat the $49 million cap hit in 2025 and go clean for 2026 and beyond with nothing to do with Aaron Rodgers contract-wise. You cut him. Now you can do a post-June 1st cut, but again, you don't get that salary relief right away. It's just split. You take a $49 million cap hit and you take it at 15 this year and 36 the following year, or whatever, 30, 38, 33, whatever the hell it is the next year. I don't know if that's worth doing it because I'd rather just get the Band-Aid off and just be like, now it's a full rebuild. Now it's fully rock bottom. We're dealing with a horrible cap situation, salary cap situation, and now we have to figure out how to build this thing from the bottom up. I hope a GM can come in here and fix that. That's the only thing I have left, Frankie, is hope.
Yeah, I'll say this. I think you need to have a GM and a head coach that are on board with whatever that plan is. If they want Rodgers for another year and you like what they're saying and what they're going to do here, you go with what they want to do. If they don't, then you don't do it. So I think like we can make opinions as to what we would want, but get the GM and head coach right. I want one head coach. I think there's only one coach out there that could change this. And I've spoke about him a million times. I tweet about him like freaking 10 times a day. Ben Johnson.
Never
I
happened.
think it may never happen. And we may never win a Super Bowl.
He turned teams down last year, but he ain't coming here to the Jets.
Give him an offer he can't refuse and let him refuse it. But we could talk about that another day. But who else do you want?
It's Mike Vrabel. I think Mike Vrabel is the only answer.
Mike Vrabel's a good answer. And I don't think Vrabel's going to come here and work wonders necessarily because of his.
He'll get more out of that defense. He'll get more out of the team. He'll get more out of the talent that you have.
It's an offensive issue with Vrabel. He didn't. AJ Brown didn't like the offense they were running there.
My God! First off, the GM traded. First off, he wanted to re-sign AJ Brown, and the GM traded him for a first-round pick, which was a dumb decision by the GM at that time. And Vrabel didn't agree with it. We all knew that. Vrabel outlived that first GM. Don't forget, they brought in a second GM, and eventually him and Vrabel butted heads because they didn't see team and building wise the same way. And the second GM said, "I need to tear this thing down and rebuild it. We're not bringing Derrick Henry back. We need to get rid of Ryan Tannehill." Offensively, though, I think you're wrong there and you're overlooking a little bit. He had Arthur Smith, but before that, he had probably one of the best offensive minds in the NFL right now in the Green Bay. His name's Matt LaFleur. That was his first offensive coordinator. He knows offense. He knows what makes a good offense.
If he's able to get the right OC, I'm with you. I'm fine
Don't
with
you
that.
think with those two guys right there alone, two guys that turned into head coaches, one turned into a top 5 head coach in the NFL, the other one didn't work out well because I think he's an offensive coordinator. He's not a good head coach. But Arthur Smith, look what he's doing in Pittsburgh right now.
Yeah, it's a good match for him. You have a disciplinarian in Tomlin who keeps things in line, and then you have Arthur Smith that doesn't have to worry about that stuff and just can dial up offensive strategy. That's fine with me. I think Vrabel would need someone like that. I like a Ben Johnson more because you can sort of kill two birds with one stone. He'll take care of the offense, and I think he can be a very good disciplinarian. Maybe not to Vrabel's level, but I'm just sick of these defensive disciplinarians who come in here and our offense sucks every damn year. I want a system, a head coach, an OC, whatever. It doesn't need to be an offensive head coach. That's what I want. I don't see another avenue outside of that for me to fix this offense. But get me a great OC. That's fine. They can't get a great head coach. You want a great head coach, OC, GM. I would kill two birds with one with a head coach who's got disciplinarian attributes and runs a very good offense. And then I would patch together what you want to do defensively. I think the defense can be good enough and we can finally run a new age offense because Zach Wilson never threw the ball downfield. And
Zach Wilson stinks.
No, Aaron Rodgers isn't throwing the ball downfield.
He stinks.
It was Darnold wasn't really. I'm just saying we can't.
Darnold was in a bad situation. They brought in Adam Gase, a bad offensive mind. So again, you're taking a risk, right? Ben Johnson, let's not forget, is with one of the best offensive lines, if not the best offensive line in football. Two absolute stud running backs, an absolute elite number 1 wide receiver, an elite tight end, and a very good number 1 overall pick in Jared Goff at quarterback. These are a lot of things people don't want to talk about with Ben Johnson. There's no doubt in my mind Ben Johnson can be a good offensive mind with another team, but I do have question marks, again, that I hope he can answer if you were to bring in a Ben Johnson, that you did have an elite situation with the Detroit Lions. And if you want to leave that situation, what are you going to be bringing to my team that's going to be different and that's going to help us get to that next step? Those are questions I would need answers for.
I want a fool's proof. Is that the right way to say it? A foolproof. Foolproof. You always tell me with vocabulary. That's why I love you. A foolproof offense. And I think Ben Johnson runs that. I think there's games Goff can literally incomplete a few balls, if that. Like he can go 80% on a day.
Right.
Ben Johnson wants a quarterback like that can go through his system and go through the reads. Now, there's going to be a time where a defense might know what they're doing, and then Goff has to improvise and go outside the box, and then you might fall into some trouble. That's kind of why Goff didn't last with McVay. However, we need a person there at Florham Park that understands how to run an offense, that will hire coaches that know offense, wide receivers coaches, a new offensive line coach. Please. We need that. Look around the league. They're playing different styles of football, man.
I don't think anyone's denying that. But again, I'm not talking about coaches right now at this point. I'm talking about that this team ultimately is lacking leadership, and it starts at the top. So it's got to be a GM that's going to come in here again, who's going to establish his fingerprints all over this roster. And I hope he tears it all down because it needs to be teared down. There are only a few bright spots. It's Garrett Wilson. It's Breece Hall. If you want to defend Sauce Gardner, go for it. I think mentally he needs to be challenged next year by the new coaching regime. But Olu Fashanu today, 42 pass block snaps, 0 pressures allowed, 0 sacks allowed. You might have found your stud left tackle for the next 10 years, your franchise left tackle, people. Like that's massive. I know, and I love it. I'm laughing at, the hot take artist in Peter Schrager who goes on there. I wonder what Brock Bowers would have done with the New York Jets. How about the fact that the Jets might have gotten, and Connor Hughes as well. How about the fact that the Jets might have found their franchise left tackle, something they haven't found since DeBrickashaw Ferguson. They tried to patchwork again. This is what I'm talking about. They tried to patchwork and Band-Aid this 2024 season for all the mistakes they made from 2020 and even beyond to 2023. They couldn't get that left tackle position figured out at all. So maybe they found something at Olu.
Olu was a good pick. I mean, listen, Brock Bowers looks like the best tight end in football already.
And I'm going to have a quarterback that doesn't throw him the ball. That you wouldn't have known what Brock Bauer was this year. I promise you. Aaron Rodgers would not have thrown him the ball.
I actually agree with you. I do. The thing that doesn't make much sense is if you're in a win now window and you had Tyron here, you could have maybe utilized Brock in terms of helping us score points, which we struggle so much with.
But
I
look
mean,
what
your team
happened.
is
But
better,
look what
but you're
happened to
better with
Tyron.
Tyron Smith. Tyron Smith's starting, so you're better with Brock playing than not. If Olu's your pick, right? Because Olu didn't play until a few weeks ago.
But what am I missing? Tyron Smith is now on injured reserve after playing banged up all year, looked horrible all year.
No, I
had tons
agree.
of holding penalties, gave up a bunch of sacks. He was not Tyron Smith. So you signed up for a again, this was a Band-Aid. You try to rush and figure out, oh, let's get Tyron Smith, former All-Pro left tackle. Wait, why are the Cowboys letting him go? Well, wait, he's always been hurt every single year. And that's what happened to him this year.
Yeah. I also don't think Brock Bowers being here would have changed anything with this win-loss record. I mean, look at his record with Vegas. It's not about the tight end. It's not about the receivers. It's not about the running backs. It's not even about the quarterback sometimes. The coaching sucks. That's it. I can't stand the Jets head coaches for a long time, especially the offensive coordinators. They are terrible, not creative. I am watching another brand of football offensively when I watch the Jets every week for way too long. I am sick of it, and I hope they can change it this offseason. And it's a selfish thing that I'm saying because I want to see offense, but I am done, Rye, with us pulling teeth to score a touchdown, pulling teeth to convert a 3rd and 5.
So I mean, why not flip to the other guy and just say we're done with Aaron?
Listen, that's fine with me, man.
Go to Tyrod.
I'll do whatever you want to do at quarterback. I'll concede whatever you want me to say, but I'll tell you offensively. But I'll say this: it's not about the players on the field. It's not about the players.
It's about the quarterback. It's always about the quarterback, man. And you just talked about it earlier in the show.
What goes hand in hand?
But the quarterback. You understand what I'm saying, though? The quarterback is running his system.
We brought in Nate Hackett. And Aaron came after to run that system. Whoever decided that was a good idea is a moron.
Frankie, they ran him out of the. Yeah, guess who they decided? Guess who decided that was a good idea? Joe Douglas, Christopher Johnson, Woody Johnson, and guess what? And Robert Saleh bought it too. And now Robert's gone and Joe's gone. And now Woody's saying, I'm resetting everything. So get ready, Aaron Rodgers, you're gone. He will be cut at the end of the season. I guarantee it. I'm being dead serious right now. There is zero reason to carry Aaron Rodgers on this roster next year. Zero.
Yeah. He'll be cut or he'll be traded.
No one's trading for him. Not with that cap hit.
You'd
not with that cap hit. Not with the $49 million, Frankie. No chance.
They can restructure that over a few years.
He just took a $34 million pay cut last year. Why would he take another pay cut? Tell me. Why would he take another pay cut?
I'm not sure, but I think that salary cap hit, they can defer it or they can level it out over.
This is what Rich Cimini wrote about. So now you want to carry this over into the 2027, 2028, and 2029 seasons. You want to defer more of this Rodgers money? Come on, dude. Look at what the Denver Broncos did. They brought in a real head coach in Sean Payton. They ripped the Band-Aid off, absorbed the $45, almost $50 million from Russell Wilson's cap hit this year, and now they're going to be on the clinch of getting in the playoffs with a rookie quarterback. It comes down to one thing, and you've alluded to it already. It's the coach and the quarterback. That's what I'm saying to you, though.
I'm saying, though, like, you're never going to – it's never going to be a perfect situation financially.
The perfect situation is cutting him at the end of the year because you take the $49 million cap hit the next year. Take the hit. Admit your mistakes. Reset it all because guess what? After next year, Frankie, I'm cool with tanking again next year. I'd rather take away 2025. Go into 2026 with a free and clean cap hit, extend Garrett Wilson, extend Sauce Gardner, extend Breece Hall, and extend Olu Fashanu. And guess what? You have young pieces. Will McDonald, Quincy Williams. Let them all be your building blocks and build on that. Get rid of the veterans. Get rid of DJ Reed. Get rid of Tyron Smith. Get rid of Hassan Reddick. Get rid of these guys. They're not worth it. Build on Jermaine Johnson. Jermaine Johnson and Will McDonald's going to be so critical for us next year. Let them eat. That's what I'm saying to you,
Ryan,
man.
We are devoid of enough depth, especially defensively. They have to sign a bunch of new players next year. We're going to have to go into the draft and address the defense with an offense that can use a few pieces too. I'm telling you, this is a bigger job.
It's a huge rebuild.
Yeah, it's a big rebuild. And I'm just letting you know to understand that.
I totally understand. But you have to understand also, if you're going to rebuild it, rip the freaking Band-Aid off and admit you made a mistake with Aaron Rodgers and be free and clear of it. Get rid of it. It's a fungus. It's a disease. It's something that's there, and you need to get rid of it. Get rid of it. Pay the price and eat it next year. Go into 2026 with a real chance of actually building something. That's what they have to do. I'm
also going to let you know, I know someone in the comment called me an idiot for saying a team would trade for Rodgers. Yes, there are 3 or 4 teams, Adam Schefter reported on it, it's true, that would inquire about bringing in Rodgers because they think we're a mess, we're a disaster, our culture stinks, our coaching stinks, and they might feel that they have a better system, which they probably do, because every team basically has a better system offensively and a culture than we do, that Aaron could go there and play for a year or two. Watch. I'm just saying it's not impossible. They said it about Brett Favre too. You saw what he did in Minnesota, right? I'm just saying.
Brett Favre has still had an arm, though. Aaron Rodgers can't throw the deep ball. I'm sorry. That's the truth.
Yeah. I mean, listen, Rye, at the end of the day, all year, I was waiting for a game that our coaches out-schemed or we out-coached the other team. Like, I've been waiting all year for it. And I thought in the first half that we out-coached Seattle.
Yeah.
I thought we did.
Yeah. And then guess what? Your Hall of Fame quarterback turned over the ball in the red zone and you threw a pick 6 and you lost all momentum. And then you went 4 and out after you went 4 and out before that, when you had a chance again to go up 28-7.
Yeah, but yes, exactly. And then in the second half, that we can out coach a team for a half. We're not going to do it for a full game. Second half, 10 penalties, and the game was over. I mean, we gave them the game. They gave us the game, and then we just threw it right back to them in the second half, and they ended up winning. But our coaches, man, they don't do enough. You see the plays too. They're the same play calls every week. Every week we're running the same stuff. There's nothing that's helping out Garrett. There's nothing that's helping out Brees. We can't get Tyler Conklin involved. It's really a badly run offense from Aaron, from Downing, from Hackett, from everybody.
From Aaron. Yeah. Plain and simple, from Aaron. Frankie, I have no more thoughts. This is another ugly game, another ugly loss. I can't believe we still have to watch, 5 more games of this, 4 more games of this?
Oh, I can't wait. I'm coming over next week to watch the game with you.
Yeah, no, 5 more. What, 5 more games of this we have to do?
Yeah, 5 more games.
Good freaking Lord. Jets fans.
They are pathetic, man. It's just like, you could say, you can literally replay every post game we've had basically this year, and it would apply the same thing. Like, it'd be the same exact post game. It's literally it's crazy. But
Jets fans,
yeah.
Listen, Jets fans, I feel for you. We're with you. We're in the same boat. We don't know where this team is going. Unfortunately, no one knows where this team is going. Now we have to wait and see and get to the offseason and see if we can get some answers, find some proper leadership. Hope that Mike Tannenbaum and Rick Spielman can find a real GM for this team and they can pick their coach that they trust, that can instill something into this franchise. But right now, they are lost. They're rudderless, and they're being led by an owner who is freewheeling it and just trying to get through the rest of these games and get into the offseason. Frankie, I have no more final thoughts. If you have anything, please share them before we sign off for tonight.
My final thoughts are, do what Robert Saleh said early on. Positive vibes only, baby. I'm getting us shirts next week. Positive vibes only, because that's what we need, all right? We were a little negative today, understandably so.
Yeah.
I was probably more negative. But positive vibes only. Let's do what Rob said, you know? By the way, Robert Saleh is 4-1 since he's been with Green Bay, by the way. Shout outs to him. And we're 1-6 since he left. Sorry to tell you that, but Robbie, listen, man, this is Mission Impossible. If you don't bring in real change. I mean, Vrabel, I like. We'll talk about it more, but it's a rebuild, which is good. I think. Like, there's no lying to ourselves anymore. There's no Woody going and getting an Aaron Rodgers and convincing us that everything's good. Aaron will fix it. No. We see it, man. It's rotten to the core. Like we all know it now, which is good.
The Jets lose 26-21, their third straight game. They're 3-9 in the season. Currently on NFL Tankathon, they are picking 5th. We'll see if they can increase that position because hopefully they can tank the rest of the season. Ed, you need to visit the darkness. I am in the darkness right now, as you can see behind me. Yes. I am in the darkness. We are in the darkness as Jets fans
tonight. Holy smokes.
You know what? Listen, they have a right to feel how they feel. We feel how we feel. We'll see how the season goes the rest of the way. That's a Jets Gangs All Here post-game live show. Frankie, for Ryan Sampson and Frankie Vittorini.